and welcome to the Check Out This Record podcast. My name is Frank, and with me is my good buddy Mark. Again, this is the podcast where we talk about all sorts of musical goodness. We review music albums we've never heard of before. We suggest albums to each other to review. We have a wide variety of musical discussions. You can check us out on Instagram, YouTube, along with your most favorite places to digest a good podcast. Mark, how are you?
Whiskey and Records, Frank. Whiskey and Records. How are you?
I am well. No, I have records here, but I don't have whiskey, so I'm a little jealous. Maybe I should get up and get some real quick. No, I'm kidding. But man, love that combination, whiskey and records. You know what else I was thinking is that we kind of put our foot in our mouths a little bit because now we have to review these Blink-182 albums, Mark.
Yeah, so we're doing these for our good buddy Brian, who loves, for whatever reason, Blink-182 still. I don't know that we're putting our feet in our mouths, as it were. This was definitely a painful task, though, because, buddy, Brian, what are you listening to, man?
Or you want to have a talk with him? Is that you kind of want to have a sit down and be like, what's going on, Brian?
Oh, man. Now, for those of you at home, Frank and Brian are definitely better buds than Brian and myself. I don't live in the same town as Brian. My non-existent children don't go to the same school as Brian. They have a particular friendship. So my question for you, Frank.
Yes.
Now, is he listening to like the whole records? Does he have like a Blink-182 best of playlist that he goes through, or is he listening to these records in full?
So Brian is a legit Blink fan. In fact, me and another buddy of mine, which Mark knows, Mr. Nicholas Yegas, we actually went to see Blink a couple of years ago now. This is the Matt Skiba version of Blink, and that's another topic because I love Matt Skiba and I love Alkaline Trio. I don't like him with Blink. That's one thing. I don't like him with Blink, but
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable time. But yes, Brian is a legit fan of Blink in the sense where these two albums, in particularly Enema of the State and Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, he knows front to back. And I've been in the car with him while he has them on, and he sings them and he knows the lyrics front to back. So these two albums in particular, I can't really test for Dude Ranch or Cheshire Cat or anything after Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, like the self-titled. But these two albums, he knows them. He knows them well.
Huh. Okay. I mean, weird. Yeah.
But it's one of those weird – they've always been a weird band for me in so many different ways. I found out about them from Dude Ranch. I legitimately like Dude Ranch. I think it's a fun album to put on. Then was that whole getting big in the late 90s. And I've mentioned this before. I have a serious distaste with music in the late 90s as far as how it got popular and kind of who was hanging out with who and all those things. So then they got even more weird for me. But hey, listen, you know what? Everyone's going to hear our thoughts. I'm going to talk about Enema of the State. Mark's going to talk about Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. No offense, Mark. I think you got the worst of the two.
No, that's fine. Hey, look. This was painful either way. I will admit, you guys heard me when we talked about this. I was kind of drunk last week when I forced you into this.
Yes.
But I hadn't listened, actually sat down to listen to Blink-182 since I was in high school.
Yeah.
Since I was on a school bus to high school.
Wow. Look at that, guys. Look at that.
I went back and listened to Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. I did not go back and listen to anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know that I needed to. I like Frank, remember liking Dude Ranch.
Yeah.
But having just kind of read through the track listing, I can't remember why. Maybe I should have listened to it. Maybe that would have been a little more fair and balanced. But at the same time, this is what Brian asked for. This is what Brian's getting.
So this is what he's getting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we're going to do, of course, we're going to get into The Living End, which is a record I've been wanting Mark to listen to. But before we really get aggravated
Sure.
with our Blink reviews, I really kind of want to get our blood boiling. And I want to do 5 songs, Mark, that just you can't stand. Like you can't stand. Like with the fiery passion of all the Greek gods, you just can't stand these songs. I'm going to get mad. That's how I'm going to get when I tell you about these. Yeah, totally. So I'm going to just butt in and go first, if you don't mind. I have 5 songs here, top 5 songs.
No, buddy, get it off your chest, buddy.
Think of off the top of my head that I just can't stand. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So I'm going to do 5 to 1. Okay. Number 5. Here we go. You ready? You ready? Since
I'm ready.
Was a drummer, drum roll. We Didn't Start the Fire, Billy Joel.
Okay.
Yeah. The common thread is that the song like this and the other songs I mentioned, they take themselves so seriously. And this one takes the shit cake. It's just a bunch of historical events made into a song. The content is there already. Give me a book, I'll come up with something too. You know, it's another patter song in the vein of It's the End of the World as We Know It by REM, which is a better song. So number 5 for me is We Didn't Start the Fire. Mark, do you have any quick thoughts on that piece of crap?
I don't hate that song, but I guess I haven't thought about it long enough to know whether or not if like I love it or hate it. It just kind of exists to me. So what do you got for number 4, buddy?
You're Beautiful by James Blunt.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this guy was the Ed Shithand, as I call him, before.
Sure.
We're so lucky to have this guy, and this is so sarcastic right now. It's such an irritating song. His voice makes me scream. The lyrics, hey man, they're as simple as they can get. I think my 7-year-old can write something comparable, and I'm dead serious. It's just an absolute horrific song. And if you want a healthy alternative about a guy seeing his ex in a train and now thinking about it and messing with his mind, listen to Frank Turner's Smiling at Strangers on Trains. Same topic, better quality. This song is rubbish.
Yeah, I've never called a Blunt James, but I've definitely referred to one as beautiful. So what do you got for number 3?
All right. Big Yellow Taxi by Joni Mitchell. I'm saddened. I'm saddened that there is a Bob Dylan cover of the song. In fact, I'm shocked. Out of all the cover versions of this crap storm, there are so many out there. It's unbelievable. It's hippie crap mixed with burnt dog turds. I'm not lying here, okay?
Oh, wow.
I don't care about the parking lot and your mountain views, okay? Get over it. Make a less annoying song for me about this topic, okay? Because seriously, I don't care. I don't care. Can't stand that song.
You know, I've managed to just avoid everything Joni Mitchell.
There you go.
To the point where, like, I know that she's got hits. I just couldn't care. Oh man, you are just fired up. What's at number 2, Frank?
Oh man, here we go. Well, I mentioned the pre-Ed Shithand before. Well, this is the actual Ed Shithand. This is Thinking Out Loud, or pretty much anything by him. I don't know what happened to making love songs clever and something more than surface level crap. Of course, there's a co-writer, which is even more frustrating because how is it that 2 people got together, sorted through everything, and made this song? It's freaking unreal. I'd rather it just be one person and be like, okay, well, that's all their ability is. What's funny is this guy said he composed the melody on the guitar to manner like Van Morrison. So my question is, did you take any lyrical tips from him? I mean, this is ballless. It's juvenile, and it's really just trying to be a hit and not a good song. And I think the two can actually exist if, I don't know, let me think, you put some effort into it.
Wow. So, Frank, with the rage tonight, all I know of Ed Shithand is what Frank has told me about it. So I'm not listening. Frank, what is the number 1 song that's just making your blood boil, buddy?
Yeah, man. And you have to imagine a lot of these are some pop hits, because again, that's what you hear on the radio. And listen, I could have made 5, 10, 15, 20 songs about, and
This
have them
Taylor
all be
Swift
about
is-
have them all be about Taylor Swift. It's actually not number one, but I'm saying I could have done that, and just strictly her pop songs too, not her nice little country songs where you would have her over for like a kid's birthday party. I'm talking about the freaking crap pop songs. But you know what? I omitted her from this list because the number one song I really can't stand, Mark. I don't know if I ever told you this, is that song "Drift Away." You know that song "Drift Away"?
Is that different from the "Come Sail Away, Sail Away"? Is that different?
Yeah, this is the "Give Me the Beat Boys and Free My Soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll and drift away." You ever heard that one?
Oh, yeah, no, I've heard that one. It's so, and maybe tell me if I'm wrong here. It's like just complete ability to wash in and out of any movie without having any significance that you hate about
it? Here's the thing. Listen, I don't care if John Kurtz, who wrote the song, singing it, Doobie Gray, Uncle Cracker, or my Uncle George, for God's sake. I don't care if it's any of them singing the song. The song is like having
George.
Yeah, I'd rather have him sing it. It's like having bamboo shoots shoved up your fingernails. You're going to mention rock and roll and give me elevator style music? I mean, the chorus is the worst. I can't stand it. That's my number one ear grating song. And obviously you can tell I'm fired up about this, which doesn't help when we get into Blink, just for the record.
No, I mean, but oh boy, Frank is worked up tonight.
I am, man. I am. And I don't even have whiskey by me. So
yeah, maybe it's a good thing. Fire in the gasoline, or gasoline in the fire, if you will.
Hey, man, either way, I'll take it right now.
Yeah. Well, so,
let's talk about your top five, Mark, because I'm so interested in hearing this.
Yeah, so I didn't want to come to the table with my usual stuff. I didn't want to complain about U2 or the Eagles or Fish. I want to do a little more pop-centric, a little more mainstream, just songs that kind of get under my nerves. So at number 5, the Smashing Pumpkins, Tonight.
Tonight. You know, and I remember you once talking to me about this, and I know you have a distaste for this song.
Yeah, the Smashing Pumpkins are so overrated to me. Yes, they have some fun hits. Some of them are catchy. And this one in particular, I just don't believe Billy Corgan is capable of genuinely feeling anything.
Yeah.
So this just feels fake as fuck to me. I hear him singing it, and it feels like my uncle's trying to molest me. I just cannot stand this song. It really gets to me. I just like, and that's part of my issue with the Smashing Pumpkins is that I never anytime feel as though they're trying to communicate with me emotionally other than when I'm angry. And this is the perfect song to show just how fucking scummy and sleazy he is. So I'm trying to match your anger, but I hope it's working.
There you go, man. Oh, I love that. Wow. Well, if that's number 5, what do you have at number 4, man?
Home Sweet Home from Motley Shitty Crew. You know what, dude? Like, for me, this is the epitome of that sad sack 80s ballad. Like, woe is me. Oh, I can't wait to get home. Even though every other song is about fucking chicks on the road. Like, no, dude, you don't get to do this. And, like, it's certainly not Motley Crue. Like, fuck this song. Fuck this band. Like, I just like, and because you can separate like the cool shit from Motley Crue, you can do your, girls is obnoxious, but like I get it, right? Like
or Looks That Kill, right? Looks That
Cool. Shout at the Devil, like
yeah, great track.
There's cool Motley Crue stuff. This is just such a sad sack imitation of trying to be genuine. I fucking hate it.
Wow, and that's great. I was going to say that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's definitely intentional with the intent of that song, obviously, which is, hey, let's just throw out this other cool stuff that we're doing, and this is just a hit right now, Yeah.
No, this is a trend. Let's just cash in on it.
Yeah.
So this next one, I think you're going to be surprised by. I hate it for how scummy it is.
Yeah.
But AAA, better known as Against All Authority, does a cover of it that I kind of love because horn sections make everything better.
I know what song you're going to say. Go ahead.
Jay Giles' band, Centerfold.
Yeah.
it's just a song about some fucking dick who's jealous that his ex-girlfriend is in a nudie mag, and everybody gets to see what he can no longer have and what a little bitch he is about it.
Yeah.
It just makes me, like, when I sit down and think about it, the song makes me crazy. That said, Against All Authority, I think it's on 24 Hour Roadside.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a really fun cover of it. And, like, because it's AAA, because it's Dirty Kids from Miami, you know that they're just taking the piss out of it. And it's a lot more fun. So, fuck Jay Giles, man. Listen to AAA. Number 2, what Duran Duran song do you think I hate?
Oh, is it either Hungry Like the Wolf or The Reflex?
It is Hungry Like the Wolf.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, dude, it's just lyrical fucking garbage. It's catchy. The fucking, whatever. It's just fucking garbage. And, like, I listen to it and I just go, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck were people on? They were like, oh my God, Duran Duran. Oh, I'm rubbing my nipples. Oh, I'm rubbing my pussy. Like, what the fuck? The song sucks. It, like, whatever.
Nice.
So, I know I promised I wouldn't.
Go ahead. Hit me up.
U2's Beautiful Day. Fuck you.
I knew you were going to have a U2 song on here. I was thinking for some reason it was going to be Mysterious Ways, but I'll take this one. Absolutely.
Because it's off that, the fuck is the name of that terrible record? Everything You Thought You Could Leave Behind, Everything You Couldn't Live Without, something like that. What's that? A really vague and general name that suggests meaning? What's that? Beautiful Day. A really vague name that suggests meaning where there is none. Dude, this thing is fucking garbage. His lyrics are just trash. The Edge is a terrible guitar player. And
he is.
Find out his real name and just call him that, because he is anything but the edge of anything. He's the edge of boring as shit. That's what he's the edge of. He's the edge of me falling asleep and killing myself listening to their fucking records.
Love it.
Fuck you too. Did I match that anger for you, bud?
Yeah, you totally did. And Henry Rollins once talked about the Edge, and it's like, hey, listen, man, he just does the same freaking riffs over and over and over, and people have caught on to it. And I've definitely have too. I don't see where this guy has an edge. Not that I'm some great guitarist, but I mean, you're really just rehashing a bunch of the stuff, in my personal opinion. Great job on the Beautiful Day track. That song Centerfold for a Record was on the other day in the background, and I was like, God, I can't stand this. So I'm glad you brought that one up. And just for the record, that one is on Nothing New for Trash Like You.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I always AAA.
Yeah, there you go. And of course, Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf. I agree with you, man. So great picks, and I'm glad that we're pissed off right now. Yeah.
I mean, like, hey, I'm gonna say it. I know that you kind of disagree with me on this.
Yeah, go ahead, tell me.
The 80s suck. Just because you guys had a nice childhood doesn't mean that they were a good time. The 80s suck. So stop fucking worshiping the 80s. It was fucking garbage. It's still garbage now.
You know what it is with the 80s? I'll tell you this, is that I think it was better than the 70s, right? Is that late 70s kind of disco crap. Take the punk, that part aside. So I think people look at that and they're like, well, yeah, then the 80s kind of were better there. But yeah, it's completely nostalgia. It's people just being like, hey, listen, I want to be a kid right now, so I don't have any responsibility. And being a kid for a lot of us was in the 80s, so I think that's what people are thinking.
Look, now is cooler. Go buy a fucking bag of weed and a Nintendo Switch and have a great time. Okay?
Well,
I don't know what to tell you.
Funny you say that. So real quick, I there's this comedian who has a special on Netflix called Tom Papa. I don't know if you heard of him. And he's like, these are the good times. He's like, what do you want to do? He's like, you want to drive to town and your bicycle that has the big wheel up front and the small wheel in the back and your burlap underwear. He's like, that bike is horrible. He's like, you ride till you die. And I was just like, you know what? I was like, these are the good times.
They really are, dude. Like, hey, look, you're an adult in the year 2020. Pornography is free.
It is.
And you're a sucker if you pay for it.
Yep.
There's a million more bands that have completed full bodies of work that you have almost unlimited access to for very little money.
Yeah. Hey man, not to mention that evolution has really dealt us a good hand. We could have been ants and been done in like 2 minutes.
I agree. I mean, like we are living at the current peak of human civilization.
Yeah.
Just enjoy that shit, because whatever great thing you think happened back then, there's something really convenient right now that you would go back there and be like, oh fuck, dude.
Well,
what am I going to do without ice in the fridge?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm, hey, look, Super Nintendo was great. It's even better is a Super Nintendo emulator where I could play every freaking game and not just the 3 I have. Like, shut up. Now is better.
From your computer. Yeah.
From your computer, from your fucking phone.
Yeah.
You never have to make eye contact with anyone anymore. And you can act like, oh, I like that town. People say hi to you. Yeah, well, you're not saying hi to people where you are, so fuck off. Like,
totally. Hey, listen, man, me and you couldn't do this podcast in the 80s. You moved. You moved. I would never see you again. I would never talk to you again. That was it. Bye.
Yeah. Maybe I'd get a mixtape in the mail.
Oh, mixtapes. Those are pretty cool. Okay.
And that's provided it didn't bake and warp in the, in the month it took to get from wherever you live to wherever I live.
Totally. Totally.
Look, I'm not saying you guys had terrible childhoods. I'm saying now is way cooler. You're an adult now, unless you're a kid listening to this, in which case, don't do drugs.
Yes.
But if you're an adult, dude, go do some drugs. Have a great time. Like, nobody gives a fuck. Literally nobody gives a fuck. You think your boss hates you? He does. He doesn't give a fuck about you once you leave. So just go do whatever you want. Have a good time. Show up. Do what you're supposed to do. Be an adult. And then go get fucked up on your own time and have a blast.
Hey, guys, you heard it from here, man. This is the Bible right here.
That's right.
This is it. I love it, Mark. I love it. And what I kind of love more is that, well, I got to talk about, or I'm going to get to talk about Enema State, and you get to talk about Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
Yeah, and I'm fairly sure Frank picked it so that he could look at the cover with the sexiness on.
Yeah, so absolutely, Janine, and I do know who she is, and I'm not going to shy away from that. I know who she is. So let me give a brief review of this album, because we still have the living end to get into, but I want to talk about this album here. So I like Dude Ranch, like I said earlier. Hey, listen, it was fun, it was shiny, it wasn't a serious punk album. I dug it. Enema State's intention was to make the band big, and I'm going to say this right now. I will support the sellout, and I want to dive into that more, of course, when we talk about Dookie and Smash, which is part 2 of the last episode we had. But I'm okay with that as long as bands don't compromise good songs, and if it keeps distance, meaning that when this album came out again in 1999, and I'm going to do an episode on that, I promise, it was during a time when people who liked boy bands, Korn, Limp Bizkit, Ice Cube, they're all meshed together. In Blink's case, they were spoofing boy bands, but what's really the difference? Was there really a difference between them and like Sugar Ray and Backstreet Boys? I don't know about that. Again, they could have kept the same formula that got them here and just rode with it just fine, and still getting more hooky and pop punky in their songs. So on to the album. Hey, it's good. Like, I still enjoy it, even though Dude Ranch is my favorite. Gone is the original drummer, Scott Raynor, who I actually love. But now we have Travis Barker. And although he's awesome, one thing I could hear musically is the drums. I could hear that that's an absolute difference between Dude Ranch and Enema the State. Now, the album comes out swinging with lighthearted tracks like Dumpweed and Don't Leave Me. And then you get the single, which really catapulted them, which is What's My Age Again. And it's a good single. It's catchy. I could see why people were attracted to them at the time. Songs like All the Small Things, hey, listen, I wouldn't have minded if that was on the album, but I have kind of beef with that song being a single. I think it's weak. And I think there's other songs on there like Going Away to College or Don't Leave Me that could service that need better. Now, like many albums seem to do, from what I could tell, is they start really strong and then they kind of lose themselves with fillers down around at the end of the album. Listen, it's a lighthearted and comical trip all the way through. It's not going to blow you away, but what Blink-182 songs do blow us away? Like let's think about that. They're aware of what their strong suit and niche is here, and I think that's okay. Can I still listen to enjoy it? Sure, but the positive impact to me that it had on taking rock a little bit less seriously, like in that late 90s, kills this kills the interest for me. So I think the impact of that it becomes negative, and therefore the positive views I have on this album kind of get outweighed. I know that was long-winded, Mark, but any thoughts on, I guess, all that blabber I just said?
No, I mean, I think the blabber was, your opinion. I, I only remember those two singles, man. And honestly, I don't remember that record well at all. I'm just gonna kind of jump right in. I did Take Off Your Pants and
Yeah,
Jacket.
you did.
And
Not my pants and jacket. You mean the album?
No, the album. Right.
Yeah.
Not Frank's pants. And I remember on the bus thinking how super fucking clever this record was. And there was a kid in my neighborhood who was in love with the band and love with this record in particular. And he would make us listen to it like every morning on the way to school. And it reminded me how much I learned to not like this kid, because he was a lot like this album and that he was a piece of shit. That over pretentious teen angst and anti-parent, despite the fact that they give their kids everything they kind of needed. Like it didn't feel legitimate to me. It didn't feel genuine. I can accept the anti-abuse stuff in the album. I know that they do it, a few times. Anthem number 2 touches on it.
Right.
And it gets kind of trickled in here and there. Obviously, the single Stay Together for the Kids touches on it, probably the most heavily and probably the best well done of it. And then, it's just the rest of it's a weird mix of like dick and shitting your pants jokes. And it's hard to take songs like Stay Together for Your Parents seriously when we're talking about grandpa shitting his pants and, next to it. So it really, this album doesn't have a flow to it. It just kind of clunks together. So the hits, First Date and Rock Show, probably some of the cleanest pop punk, and definitely what people know as that signature Blink-182 sound. But it's interesting with this record, Frank, because you get those two really clean pop punk songs that are really well structured, really well put together,
right,
with real intent. And then you go to some of the other songs and you're just like, where the fuck is this? Like, why is this song in here? Like, it's, like they don't have the same structure. They don't have the same pacing. And I get that, you're going to say like, well, they're different songs, asshole. Yeah, but they don't feel like they're from the same piece of work.
Yeah.
It's like somebody building a brick house up front and a wood house in the back. These two things aren't supposed to mash together. And it really felt disjointed. Stay Together for the Kids, the darker and more apparently sincere part of the album. Again, it's just kind of hard to swallow, right? Like with Grandpa shitting his pants, flanking it. Like, but more of that kind of anti-child abuse, broken home talk that they do focus a little more on in future records and future singles. And, I kind of think was the point of Angels and Airwaves, whatever that fucking terrible band was, so that they could be more serious, because it didn't fit that Blink-182 kind of like model. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It was trying to make a Whopper at McDonald's. Like, it just didn't work. Like, so it's a really weird record. At the end of the day, this is still just an album for 15 to 17-year-old dudes on a bus trying to bully their way into friendships, and it's not really working. The hits were fun to revisit, but no sooner did those songs end than I stopped thinking about them.
Yeah.
I just don't have any emotional connection to these. I get that kind of like, hey, let's just have fun attitude. Maybe a greatest hits would be interesting to listen to, but at the same time, why? I just don't see it keeping my attention or warranting more than one listen. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
I can't imagine any of that. The rock show. I definitely thought that applied to me at one point. I remember meeting a girl at work and going like, "Oh my god, it's fucking my rock show." But it's all fucking stupid. Like,
it is.
None the First Date and Rock Show are just really clever pop songs that this band managed to come up with, and I'm interested to know how they came up with these two really well structured, clear as day pop songs on a record that otherwise has no hint of that, and then has a song like "Stay Together for the Kids," which definitely heavier, definitely. I just don't fucking get it, man. Like,
Yeah.
Brian, the fuck are you listening to this for? Like, I mean, like, hey, look, it's fine if you guys want to listen to it. It's your right. You're welcome to listen to what you want to listen to. I just, man, I couldn't be bothered. Like,
So you're
why
telling
are they still making
Brian to
records?
keep listening to Enema the State, basically, is what you're telling him.
Well, I mean, I'm telling him he can take off his pants and jacket if he wants to, but I'm not.
There you go.
So was that a good transition?
That was a good transition. So you heard it here first, folks. And man,
I hope not first. Oh my god.
Well, wait, hey now.
Ooh.
Hey, listen, these things do get our bloods going, and even though I mentioned I like Enema, I do have a again that time frame for me really aggravated me. Take off your pants and jacket. I remember listening to it and being like, it wasn't gelling with me, and a lot of the things you said, I agree with absolutely. Now, what's interesting about this is, we went from, hey, what's our, songs that really, get our blood boiling, and these Blink albums, but now we're going to talk about something I like. I'm going to have to get a little less aggravated, and that's The Living End. Mark, you ready to talk about them a little bit?
Yeah, you want to give us a little backstory on The Living End and why you wanted me to listen to this record?
Yeah, so punkabilly, I love it. I mean, I love psychobilly and I love regular rockabilly. The punk rockabilly mashup, to me, I find highly fascinating, and I want to cover that more in detail eventually. What you have here is two pure forms of music for their genres coming together to create a beautiful rock sound. You got one guitar, stand-up bass, and the drum. Before I get into a little bit of the Living End background, Mark, are you in love with this genre kind of as much as I am, or am I kind of on my island over here?
I don't know that you're on an island. I definitely like this style. I certainly am not as into it as I once was.
Right.
It's a distinct sound. I I used to joke the only reason I've never been in a rockabilly band is because I can't fit into the outfits and my hair is not that pretty.
No, there you go.
But it's an interesting style. I think when it's done right, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
When it's not done right, there are some goods and some bads, and that's kind of where I'm going to land on this one.
Okay.
But when it's done badly, I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
It's got to be done right. It's
Yeah.
got to be done right.
Yeah. So I mean, there's definite. I'll let you get into the backstory on these guys.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about the record because hey, look, I did enjoy parts of this record. There's some things that I was like, I just don't get it. So let's talk about the band and then we'll get into that.
Totally. So The Living End formed in 1984. Oh boy, 1994, my friend. Woo! In Australia. Singer-guitarist Chris Chaney had a band called Runaway Boys after the Stray Cats song, and they played tunes by them and The Clash, and they eventually changed their name to The Living End, which is reference to the movie Rock Around the Clock. So obviously there's some true rockabilly homages here, The group then sent a T-shirt and a tape to Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day and landed support on the Australian portion of the Green Day tour in '95, which is interesting. That same year, they debuted an album, or an EP actually, called Hellbound, and that was released, which is a punkabilly good time. However, we're here to talk about the debut long play, which is self-titled. This was released in 1998. It's a 14-track album. It actually spawned 6 singles, which is crazy. And one short year later, in 1999, it was certified 4 times platinum. So it really hit big in the land down under. I personally like this album in a time in the late 90s when we're overpopulated again with new metal, pop punk stuff like Blink and other silly music. We get this, which is a fused version of punk, rockabilly, and rock and roll. Mark, kind of some thoughts here.
I had a hard time getting into this record, and I warned you about that up front.
You did.
I definitely had I don't want to say a come to Jesus moment with this record. I took a step back, stopped taking it so seriously, and there are some really great things in this. overall, I don't think it works as a record. I'm really surprised to hear that it sold as much as it did. I just don't know if there's not as much going on in Australia. Don't want to make fun of them. I think it's a gorgeous country, and obviously those wildfires they're having out there are a heartbreaker. But
Sure.
Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you people musically? So I'm going to just kind of jump in.
Yeah, jump in, please. I want to hear.
You tell me what your thoughts are. I'm going to start by saying, with rockabilly, psychobilly, punkabilly, nobody's looking for lyrical brilliance.
No.
This record's no exception to that.
Right.
So some of these songs are just dumb. Lyrically, there is a lot of great music in this. There's a lot of musicality, a lot of technical stuff that I certainly couldn't even come near to touch. But Prisoner of Society, this really threw me off, man. This opening track, very 1999 alt guitar riff that suddenly turns rockabilly, right? You get a couple bars in, and then all of a sudden you're shifted back to rockabilly, which really threw me off because I went in going, rockabilly, this isn't rockabilly. Wait a minute. What's going on? As much as I tried musically, I liked the rockabilly tone of it, and then it would go back to that kind of guitar riff, and it made it really tough for me to get into this. Again, lyrically, I wasn't sure what the hell he was going on about. But the riffs are cool when he's doing rockabilly. When he's not doing rockabilly, it was I don't know. I don't know what it was. So
well, I think and you bring up some interesting points here.
Mm-hmm.
So this song in particular, listen, I think this is their anthem, their rally cry song. I've seen them perform live, not in person, but online.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a interesting start to the album. It's definitely the album or the song that gets people pumped up for sure. You mentioned something with the lyrics. So here you're not going to get lyrics, and you're not going to get those where you're going to be like, wow, that's amazing, and I need to go home and write stuff now. A lot of it is surface level, accompanied by simple rhymes. You get a song like Monday, which comes a little bit later in the album. It's a prime example about this. That song's about a very serious issue, but it's told very simply. But some of these songs then kind of work because you know why? He's such an amazing guitarist, and I think that's where we're like, okay, this album is good. To me, that's what connected with me in this album, is that spot on guitar playing. Second Solution, that's one track that comes to mind. It's an amazing track. I mean, it's a Clash-like opening with roaring chants and clean sounding chords. The slap bass you could hear so well. The musicality, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, on this, but I think that's where the strong suit of this album exists.
Yeah, definitely. I think their playing on this is definitely capable of buying them a lot of leeway. In terms of a lot of the other stuff that we tend to talk about. I kind of was aware of that going into it. No, I wasn't expecting a lot lyrically out of it. But particularly this opener, it was kind of jarring for me.
Sure.
Because it really just didn't gel. Like the next song, Growing Up, Falling Down. I think this is where, some of the stuff I was looking at for the band, there were some Green Day comparisons along with the fact that they had toured together.
Yeah.
There's definitely a sense of the way he sings and the way they use hooks that I can see why people would compare them to Green Day. That said, it just didn't do anything for me. I kept waiting for it to build and to go somewhere, and I just didn't really feel like it delivered as a song. Second Solution was the rockabilly I was promised.
Yes.
I was really feeling that swing and gloom. I really like that. I like darker rockabilly. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Really great stuff. Not quite as psychobilly as I thought they would get. I thought they'd get a little faster. I thought they'd get a little crazier.
Right.
But they definitely stayed in that punkabilly. The guitar work on this one was great. It's what I wanted for the whole record, and I was a little disappointed that I didn't get it until 3 tracks in. Again, lyrically, I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about, like in most of these songs, but hey, look, it's fine. That's not what I was here for. I was here for the music and for some hooks and some rhymes that kind of pull things along.
Yeah.
West End Riot. I
West End
definitely
Riot.
got much more of that Clash feel. Definitely some more of that that punkiness I liked. I loved that big walking bass.
Right?
The song starts with and builds on. Great hook and chorus. Fun punkabilly song. I really enjoyed that song.
Now, to me, that's their Rumble in Brighton, by the Stray Cats. If you think
Sure.
about it too, it's a
Yeah.
great guitar intro, the riffs, the solos, the similarities, and song content to Rumble in Brighton. Definitely Clash similarities as well. I dig that tune big time.
Yeah. Bloody Mary, I loved. I thought it was a fun psychobilly song.
Yes.
I really like the way they did exactly what I want out of a psychobilly band. It swang. It just had that great just sway and swing to it. It was dark. It was ominous.
Dark tone.
And we're talking about a song about playing Bloody Mary in front of a mirror. Like, it was just fun. It's what it's supposed to be. I really dug that. I'm interested in that you found such depth in Monday. Musically, it didn't do a lot for me.
Mm-hmm. Let me preface it with the fact that reading it at first, I was like, well, I guess this could be about a number of things, and then that was found from research, just so you know. So
no, fair enough.
Yeah.
What I like that this song does, though, and it kind of sets up an issue I have with the band that I would like to see them separate and see what they can do with, is that there's a lot of ska guitar in this. He's doing a lot of upstrokes, and it's a lot of fun, and it really works later on in the record. But I would like to see this band do a little more in terms of playing up that sound, because I think they do a really great job with it. I'd love to see them push that a little bit further.
Okay.
So All Torn Down. I love the groove on this, the drive on it. It's got that good political punk sound.
Yeah.
The upright bass is really slapping in this one. I really dug it. I think it was a fun song. It was a little aggressive. It was definitely on the punk side.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This band has a lot of sides to it. It does a lot of different things really well. Mm-hmm. I feel like, and we're halfway through the record here at 7 songs. I would have liked to see somebody sit down with them and go, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to do a punk rock album? Do you want to do a rockabilly album? Do you want to do a ska album? What do you want to do? And it feel like they kind of got the opportunity to do a little of everything.
Yeah.
And nothing came out as strong as it maybe could if somebody had been able to focus them.
Well, the ska always kind of, and I love All Torn Down, by the way. I think that's a great, it's just a great overall track, no matter kind of what genre you want to lump it into. I think it's better than the one down the way, Trapped over there. But, it's interesting because we talk about punk, punkabilly, rockabilly. There's a ska influence on this album too. That kind of throws some curveballs. I like the opening riff in this. I like the groove, like you said, the solo. It's got that aggression. It is a good song, but I could see now talking about it with you where like you add the ska in a punk and rockabilly album, and you're like, okay, well, what's that doing there?
Yeah, it was a lot going on. It's not a bad beef stew. There's no such thing as bad beef stew. But
I agree.
Hey, there's a little more in here than needs to be. Was kind of the way I was feeling about it. Next up is Save the Day. Yep. I wanted more out of this song. I really love the intro of this. I love the way it builds, but it doesn't really do a whole lot. And I know that it's not typically a rockabilly thing. They're not supposed to really kind of go anywhere. But I felt like they had a chance to do something really cool with it, and just kind of had fun with it instead. Not that that's bad, but it didn't do anything to me. Trapped, again, that ska sound. I loved it. I really, really liked the way they did it. But again, it really clashed against the rest of the record because it worked as a song, but it didn't fit, it just kind of felt a little misplaced.
Yeah.
But I really dig this song, man. The horns really deliver. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks on the record. I'm really torn on this, man. Like, I really like this song. I don't feel like it fits in this record.
Are you like, what are you doing here? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
A little bit. I mean, like, I like all these ideas. I feel like we could break this into 3 really cool EPs and be like, wow, this is one band. But shoving them all together on one record, I'm kind of like, I don't really get this.
Right.
So Have They Forgotten? Here's definitely that psychobilly I came for. It's fast, it's slappy, it swings. You could fight to this, you could fuck to this. Fun chorus, fun hooks. The song just rocks. I love this song as well.
It does swing. Absolutely. It does swing.
Not crazy about the lyrics, but at the same time, again, I wasn't here for the lyrics. I was here for the motion of it. I was here for the energy of it. And it delivers.
Yeah.
Fly Away. It felt like it was meant to be a pop song on this record. Which it felt a little out of place against Have They Forgotten? So it was a weird one. I didn't mind the imagery. I thought he was really kind of over trying to sell the lyrics, which is odd in a rockabilly song.
Right.
But not bad. It just didn't. Why is this here? Was this like somebody going like, hey, what if we did something a little subtler? But you mentioned it had like 6 singles. When we finish, if you can name those singles, I'd be really impressed because I wouldn't even know where to start with it.
Totally.
Number 12, What a Day. There's that ska guitar again.
Yep.
I would have liked horns. Otherwise, it was okay. And I understand they probably didn't want to bring the horns in too much. You want to let people know like, hey, that was just kind of a fun thing we did. But I would have liked to have seen it, especially at this point. I think if we throw the horns in like 2 more songs plus this one, I think it's a fun argument. You can do a bit with it and have a good time. Strange, The Living End. Very Green Day, Hitching a Ride.
Totally.
The chorus is fun, and the solo rocks. It's a rockin' song for sure. I think in terms of like if you compared this directly to Hitching a Ride, this is Hitching a Ride without the camp, and it works better for me.
Oh, interesting.
Just in that, like, I don't trust Billy Joel Armstrong to do something different. Like,
right?
Are you stealing from somebody? This felt more genuine. Like, I feel like this is that band. This is what they're supposed to be doing, and they had a lot of fun with it. Great staccato parts to it. Great, just kind of very rockin'. And again, that solo was killer.
Yeah.
And then closing in that last track, strictly instrumental, felt a little bit like a tribute to the Stray Cats kind of medley.
Yeah, I kind of got that. Absolutely.
But I mean, like, one of the things we were really clear on when we started this review was that this genre is really about musicianship and technicality and being able to rock and swing and like really have this fun sound
all the
that
way
feels like it's from a dystopian past, but works. And this really, I mean, it's clean where it's supposed to be. It's heavy where it's supposed to be. Stylistically, it's awesome. It did feel a little weird at the end of the album because it kind of does a little bit of a psychobilly greatest hits or rockabilly greatest hits towards the end. But it's a fun song. It's it's definitely a cool track.
Yeah, guitar playing is great. I mean, the guitar playing is fantastic.
The whole band, the bass is fantastic. The drums are fantastic. As a rhythm section, they're really tight. They're really on point. They really keep the groove going while the guitar is really doing a great job of wailing, and the solos are great. The lead plays really fun off that really solid rhythm section.
Yeah.
I've got nothing bad to say about the song. It just fits kind of oddly at the end of this record.
Right.
Would I pick up this album and bring it home? I don't know that I would.
Okay.
Was it cool to listen to? Yeah, it definitely was. Like I said, hey, look, I had my man period. I don't know what was wrong with me. I put it on and I was like, I don't know what the fuck Frank gave me. Like, I know he likes rockabilly, but what is this? Like, I was expecting, something classic or something, really aggressive in the psychobilly nature and something really fast and really crazy. And
right.
It's kind of flip-flopped around and I wasn't sure what to do with it. But once I kind of took a step back and went like, well, let's just look at it for what it is. the technicality is there, the musicianship is there.
Yeah.
Hey, again, songwriting and lyrics, it is what it is. I don't mind his singing.
No, it's not a bad voice at all.
No, not a bad voice. I get some of the way he sings, some of those Billy Joel comparisons again.
Yeah.
But hey, look, that could be anything. I don't think he's imitating him by any chance. I don't think he's aping him. I think that's just how this guy sings. And he definitely does have his own style. I can see the comparisons though. I think it's a great record. I'm definitely gonna check out the later work. I'm curious to see where they put the pieces together.
Totally.
After this, because it's definitely an interesting starting point, right?
Yeah.
If we're looking at a map and this is where stuff starts, man, like this map is going all over the place. All kinds of things are happening. So I'm interested to see more. You definitely kind of sparked my like, oh, I should be listening to more rockabilly.
Piqued your interest, right?
Yeah, because it is a style that I've definitely enjoyed in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I know another band that I always mention to you, and I know you dig them, is the Peacocks.
Yeah, I like the Peacocks.
I think they're another great punkabilly, rockabilly band. Obviously, there's all the psychobilly bands we like too.
I'm a big Necromancer fan.
Yeah,
Necromantics.
Tiger
I probably
Army.
haven't listened to one of their records in like 5 or 6 years. I did listen to that last. Yeah, Coffin Cats. I dig. I did listen to that last Tiger Army album, and it was tough to sit through.
Sure.
They've made some interesting choices since 3, most of which I have not liked, but that's okay. I mean, that's going to happen. Nick 13 doing whatever Nick 13 is going to do.
Well, not to mention too the great Stray Cats album that came out last year too, which we liked.
I need to revisit that. I want to say that I gave it a single pass, and I was like, oh, cool, and then I never got back to it.
Yeah, I remember you. Actually, I clearly remember you liking it a lot. You're like, man, they really did it good for being away for so long.
Yeah, and I remember that being my impression. I wonder if I was just and again, I remember fondly liking it, but I also remember not going back to it.
Yeah,
I don't know that was me being overwhelmed with other things to listen to, or what that was. I'm definitely going to go back and look at that. I'm definitely re-interested in the genre. Which is kind of what's one of the fun things about this is being able to find that excitement and listening to records again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're very consistent, and you bring up something that's a good point. Where even when you're talking about these songs individually, you're like, hey, listen, I like this song, but the flow of the record, we keep going back to that because this is, after all, called Check Out This Record, right? It's a whole entire entity of something, and how does that fit into what's going on? So, absolutely, I totally get a lot of things that you were saying. Some other things to note. You mentioned, number one, what was the singles, out of curiosity, from that album. So the first one actually was Second Solution, but it was backed by Prisoner Society, which became a hit. And from what I have researched, Prisoner Society, the intent wasn't there to make that the primary single. It was Second Solution, but they both kind of came out around the same time and got equal popularity there. And then a couple months after, this was towards the end of 97, and then in the beginning of 98, Prisoner Society was then officially released. But initially it was Second Solution with Prisoner Society, kind of old school A-side, B-side type deal. Then you have Prisoner Society, then Save the Day, which is the third single, All Torn Down, West End Riot, and then Trapped, but that was in the US only. So those are your 6. Those are your 6. Now, it's extremely interesting. Now, another thing with this band, which I find interesting too, because you're like, okay, well, I want to definitely listen to their other albums. This album is as punkabilly as it could get, as they get, to be honest with you. Their next album, Roll On. What they start doing, you're going to definitely still hear the punkabilly sound, but not now in every song. That slap bass is going to be gone. They're going to be doing some different things. The second album in particular, especially towards the end, takes a Clash-like turn with those kind of groove and ska type songs. Then they go on this couple album spree where, the whole punkabilly is actually gone, and they kind of refine themselves as being, hey, we're just this like kind of rock band with punk influences. So this album's actually as punkabilly as we get, which is interesting. They really kind of have tried to create like themselves as being like a full sound rock band, which is interesting. And not that I don't like the other albums, because I do. There's quite a few of them that I dig listening to, but this, to me, if you want that punkabilly sound, this is where it's at.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely
Interesting.
interesting. I could see, though, why someone I saw online referenced them as the Green Day of Australia. I mean, you could see that, right?
Yeah, I definitely, I picked up a little bit of that. Some of the guitar work, some of the hooks. Again, he has a very similar vocal pattern in his singing. I can see the comparison, but at the same time, I feel like if I hadn't heard that, I don't know that I would have gotten it on my own.
Gotcha.
Maybe I would have, especially having just done, listening to 4 Green Day albums back to back to back. Maybe I was more susceptible to it. I'm not really sure. It's definitely interesting. I definitely like that you brought this band up. I think it's something I wouldn't have listened to.
Yeah.
And listen, I just watched Crocodile Dundee 3.
Hey.
And I understand Australia more than anybody else.
You do. Absolutely. And my 7-year-old likes the Wiggles. So
yeah. So your 7-year-old and I are clearly the authority, and we understand what these people want and need from music. And this is an interesting road marker in their socioeconomic time.
There you go. It's you're funny. It's kind of a shame that they live so far away, because Chris Chaney was on a recent podcast with Mike Herrera from MXPX, and he's like, yeah, we'd like to get out to the US, but man, that's an expense, and that's kind of I think that's shitty, man, because not a lot of people are aware of them, and I think they are kind of this, for being out for so long, kind of an undiscovered gem, because if you see them perform, if you see any live show that they have then on YouTube, man, he's shredding it. It's a great kind of musical experience. It's fun, right? You don't have to take it too seriously, and you're gonna get some good musicianship. I wish they would come to the US. I would definitely go see them for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I would definitely tag along to see these guys live. There's the musicianship in this is going to be great. Like, I'm really excited to kind of look into the rest of their catalog. This was kind of a crazy week for me. I wasn't able to do that. As you guys know, I like to try to do that at least, and see where things are going, see where things fit in, see if there's a through note that makes more sense.
Yeah.
This album, I really just had the opportunity to look at on its own, really focus in just on this record. Like I said, I didn't hate it. I had to take that step back. There's definitely some great stuff here.
Yeah.
So why don't we, you want to tell the kids at home what we're doing next week?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, next episode, what we're going to do is talk about it's springtime. As far as the actual, I wouldn't say weather-wise where we're at, but it's starting to get into the spring. We're in February right now. So we're going to start looking at some upcoming releases. Now, these are going to be upcoming releases that we're going to review in full episodes, and also ones that we're going to start talking about and being like, okay, well, this is interesting that this person's actually coming out with this album, or this band is coming out with this album. What's our thoughts on it? What would we expect from them? Do we even think it's necessary that they do so? So we're going to kind of get into the new releases and forecasting too, some of the stuff we got down the way, and of course putting probably some throwing in the top 10 in there as well. But Mark, I'm pretty excited about this. You excited to take a look at what's on the calendar, so to speak, with these bands and their album releases and talk about them?
Yeah, this year's pretty promising. There's quite a few bands that I'm excited to see put out new records. There's quite a few bands that I'm asking, who are these records for, and who is buying them? Why are you still putting out albums? Right. So we're going to talk about all of that. I think next week's topic, top 10 favorite pickles, will be really great.
Oh, is Pickle Rick an option? Because
sure. I mean, if that's your favorite pickle, buddy, you want to put Pickle Rick in your mouth, you go right ahead.
There you go.
No, it'll be fun. We're going to look a couple months out, see what's coming up, talk about what we're excited about, maybe pinpoint some albums that we're looking forward to talking about in future episodes for you guys. We're going to look at some of the stuff that's coming out actually this week and next week. Maybe touch on some of those albums if we get a chance to listen to them. Some of the stuff that's come out already this year, because we did a best of 2019. We didn't really get to do a winter preview. and talk about the stuff coming up. But this will be a good chance to kind of cover a little bit of all of that. Should be a lot of fun. I'm sure I'm going to make fun of somebody. I'm sure Frank's going to get angry about something.
There you go.
So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting. And of course, down the road we have the follow-up to Green Day vs. Offspring Part 1, Kerplunk vs. Ignition. The sequel will be Dookie vs. Smash, so we'll do that. So got a lot of cool stuff in the works. Definitely excited about it. And hey, we appreciate everyone listening. Please drop us a line. I mean, again, Instagram, which Mark's the one behind that. I'm the guy behind YouTube. So drop us a line, talk to us. We're friendly people, and let us know if you have a suggestion. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you think we're off our rockers. Hey, man, either way, right, Mark?
Yeah, and absolutely. Share us, rate us, review us, whatever you're into. If there's an album coming out that you want to hear us talk about, don't be afraid to suggest it. If there's something that's already come out and you're like, what do these two idiots think of this hunk of garbage? We'd be happy to listen to it and tell you that you're crazy for making that decision. So feel free. Thanks, you guys, so much for listening. You make chatting with my buddy all the more.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Instagram, YouTube, drop us a line. Thank you very much, and talk to everyone next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.